So good evening, friends. It's a great evening, and I am so happy, and we are indeed honored to have a person who has gone against all odds, a person who is standing as an iconic personality to all persons with visual impairment, and in fact to all persons with disabilities. It is none other than Mr. Rajesh Asudani, the General Manager RBI, right, who has joined us today on this evening to share his thoughts, not only of his journey, but as well, more importantly, on the empowering persons with visual impairment. And thank you, sir. Thanks so much for accepting our invitation and joining us today. And we are indeed honored. So I just want to begin with a small question, like to know about your background, your home, and your hometown during your childhood days.
Yeah,
Could you
so
please?
thank you, Raghuramji. Thank you very much for inviting me in this wonderful evening to talk to you all. As I know, you are from Karna Vidya Foundation, and it was indeed a pleasure to talk to you the other day. So, yeah, I'm Rajesh. I'm Rajesh Asudani, and as you said, I'm working as Assistant General Manager in the Reserve Bank of India, central bank of our country. To tell in brief my background, I belong to a family of meager means. My parents had emigrated from erstwhile British India, I mean now what is Pakistan, to Nagpur way back in 1948 when the partition happened. And of course, like all others, millions of refugees, they had lost everything. Then, in the process of settling down in this country, uh, they had 8 children, and out of 8, 5 are congenitally, that is, by birth, blind. So, added to the poverty, this was another tragedy which they had to endure. And I'm the youngest. I'm the youngest of all. I was born in 1976 when our country was in emergency. So, I have a twin sister who is sighted. So that's also something strange. Of course, it has happened. Then we saw poverty in our childhood. We were quite poor because my father ran a small uh, retail store which hardly fetched 2 meals. But he was all for us. He supported us like anything. He wanted education for us. And when he came to know that there is a blind school about 10 kilometers away from our home, he took us there and admitted us. My elder siblings got education from there, and I joined the school in 1982. So, studies, right? So, in this way, the foundation was laid. Education was given the much needed importance. But at the same time, we were not forced to study. We were not, beaten for encouraging environment, which prompted us to do something. And we lived in a hut, literally a hut of where all of us, including our joint family, all the children, parents, grandparents, we lived together. And somehow we kept going with the resolve. And I still remember I had scored a big 0 in my 4th standard in the unit test. But then I took off from there. When I went to 5th, English was there. I liked English. And then I topped secondary school certificate exam. I was second in the entire state. I am talking about the general merit list, not the blind category only. Then in my higher secondary certificate examination, I stood first in the entire state. Then, of course, I went on to do LLB, obtaining the highest gold medals from the Nagpur University, that is 13. So my journey is literally from 0 to this getting the highest gold medals and all. And now, then I went on to do MA English. There also I was the topper. Then LLM. Then all the things. Right from this, I kept on going. And as one of my professor calls my journey, is from 0 to 0 mile. Why 0 to 0 mile? 0, as I told you, I scored in my 4th standard unit test. And 0 mile, because as you know, India's 0 mile is in Nagpur, and where I work in the Reserve Bank of India, that is very near to the milestone, that is 0 mile. So, in short, that has been my journey from zero to 0 mile.
Excellent, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really heartening to know more of your achievements, and very inspirational because of the circumstances that you were
Yeah.
uh, overcoming, and the challenges that you have faced are totally new. They are not something can be compared with the present.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, please, about the challenge. First challenge I see from a visual impaired perspective.
Yeah.
How do you learn your mobility? Because 80s, I don't think much of NGOs, especially there in your place, in your hometown,
Mm-hmm.
mobility and as well understanding person with visual impairment, uh, accommodating him to your school, uh,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
these things. Yeah, can you
Yeah.
please explain?
Yeah. Of course, mobility is the great skill which all of us have to learn if we are to live. So initially, we went to the school in the rickshaw. They had hired a rickshaw, even though we were very poor, but somehow they had hired a monthly rickshaw, and that rickshaw wala took us. But then, as we grew, all three of us resolved that we will take the bus and we will leave. So for some days, my mother or our father, they told us. Initially, they told us that we will be there behind you if something happens. Later on, they said, okay, you go on your own. But we know that for some days, at least, they followed us unknowingly, without our knowledge, so that they were assured that we can navigate now properly. So in this way, gradually, we learned the lessons of mobility. And then I was quite alone when I grew up. I worked in Kanpur Railway, so I used to go alone and come alone in the train without even taking anybody's assistance, even in the railway station. But yes, one thing I believe, we should not shun assistance. Whenever, suppose we have to cross a road or we have to navigate a crowded space, it is always better to ask for assistance, because it does not take even half an accident. If something happens, then we can't, really take the risk of being multiply disabled. One disability is already there, that is enough. So we should always take assistance when it is forthcoming, or we should not even shy of asking somebody to please assist us whenever it is
Mhm.
required. So that's how
Okay.
it is there. Yeah.
How about the language part, sir? See,
Hmm.
learning English is always a difficulty for everyone.
Ha, ha, ha.
And too, for a blind person, it is something very difficult, more
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marathi to English, and
Ha.
can you
Yeah.
please explain?
My mother tongue is Sindhi. Okay. I'm Rajesh Asudani. So my mother tongue is Sindhi. At
Sindhi.
home,
Okay.
we spoke Sindhi. That is the language of Sindh, which is a province in Pakistan now. Earlier,
Okay.
it was part of India. And in our national anthem, Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha. So
Yes, sir.
Sindh is always there. So my mother tongue is Sindhi. At home, in the childhood, we spoke Sindhi. Hindi, automatically, we learned from the ambience. Then my earlier education was in Marathi. So I had to learn Marathi. Before English, I had to learn Marathi. So in the school, gradually I learned Marathi. But when from fifth standard we had English, I was overjoyed, because I got an intrinsic pleasure in listening to English. My elder brothers Ghansham and Vinod, they are also gold medalists in English, and as well as I have done later on MA English also. I am also the gold medalist. So, but from fifth standard onwards, right from ABCD, I enjoyed it. Then the second key comes in reading. I read Braille. Nowadays, blind students really don't read Braille. Therefore, their spellings are really, really poor, really shabby, I would call it. Even a graduate blind student does not know how to spell simple words, because they are not reading Braille. So, Braille was the key in learning English. Then it was radio, listening to the news. Listen to Hindi news, listen to English news. You'll automatically know many, many words which you don't know earlier. So, like that, and I never took it as a burden. I never took it as a drudgery. I took it as just another language. And therefore, I really enjoyed it. And I think it's not a rocket science to learn the English grammar. I teach students nowadays, but I'm really hard pressed to know why they can't really It's as simple as simply you can know all the tenses, you can know all the grammar within 3 days, within 2 days, within a day. It's not a rocket science.
Mm. So, um, with reference to your 10th and 12th, I suppose you left the 7th from the from the blind school and joined
It's
a
not.
regular school. Uh, am I wrong? After 7th, I think you shifted
Yeah.
to, yeah, you shifted to another school. And how did you cope with 10th? Because scribing is something new in those days. Getting a good scribe, that too, is a difficulty. How do you manage with that 10th and 12th?
Yeah,
You
for it, my parents tried for it, and that was the era. I would call that was the different era. Now it all has become professional. None of my scribes has accepted even a single rupee as the payment. That was
Hmm.
not the approach back then. I don't know. Today, unfortunately, the era has changed, and the people are just interested in monetary reward rather than humanity.
So the next question is, how do you take up law? Because generally, humanities is the right way, or the suited course for visually impaired is a belief in those days. Taking arts is the right way, but your mind changed to LLB and LLM. How do you take it up?
Yeah, yeah.
And that too, you or a person, a real achiever to get 13 gold
Hmm.
medals in the
Mm-hmm.
university. That's
Yes.
an outstanding performance and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
amazing thing during in 90s, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
Could you explain how did you do that?
How did I do that? As I told you, my interests are multidimensional. I was interested in law, definitely. Then I took up law. But at the same time, my brothers did MA English. So I was also interested in English literature. So I thought of doing, after LLB, I did MA English. Then I was interested in psychology also in my college days, but they did not allow me during that time. They said, no, a blind person can't do it. So when I got settled, I thought, why not to pursue psychology? Then I did PG in psychology as well. So my interests even today they are multifarious. I am not confined to a particular that person knows more and more about less and less.
Hmm.
That I don't agree with that. One's knowledge should be broad based because life is not divided into compartments. A lawyer, a psychologist, they are not different. It is one and the same person in whose life law also plays a role, psychology also plays a role, literature also plays a role, science also plays a role. So one should study as many subjects as one can or as one is interested in so that one can live the life holistically. So therefore I put my best in whatever I did. So therefore I could do, I mean, somehow, and with, of course, with the cooperation of everybody, my family and my, even after my marriage, I continued my studies. So my wife has supported me a lot, my daughter has supported me, everybody, my son has supported me. So like that, I mean, if you want to do something, you can do something. That is what I believe. If you don't want to do something, something may happen, but that something will be something only. But if you want to do something, you can do it to a reasonable extent. You can do it.
But the question is, sir, like you have really made a difference. You made people turn around and say, "Yeah, yeah, a great achiever," because there were no materials in those days,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There were no materials in an accessible format. First of all,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Even if there were materials, it is not been in the reach, in our reach, in the visual
Hmm.
impaired reach.
Correct.
Right? I mean, so and understanding that the subject involves more of critical thinking, analysis, and everything.
Yeah,
So, how do you, who, I mean,
yeah,
create this
yeah,
environment, ecosystem?
yeah. First of all, in our family, there was an ecosystem of education. As I told you, all eight of us were good students. We lived in a single hut. we lived together, we talked together. Whatever other was studying, I equally knew it, because all of us were living in the single hut, right? Nowadays, people live in different rooms and they don't even talk to one another, and all those things were not there. So whatever my brothers were studying, I knew, okay, what is there in their syllabus. So ecosystem of education was there in the family. Then, as you said, there were no accessible materials, and computers were, they were not still in vogue. So we, as I told you, ecosystem of education was in our family. I knew what my brothers are studying because I listened to that. Okay. Then came the problem of accessibility. Yes, accessible materials were not there. Then, as far as I am concerned, my twin sister, I told you my twin sister is sighted. So she read out to me, and we recorded thousands of cassettes for my 10th, 12th, LLB, and all those things. So I, even whatever my brothers had recorded, that also came in handy for me. I did not have to record it afresh, many things. But LLB, and yes, I was the first to do law in my family. So I had to record many things, and she recorded willingly. So that was the ambience of mutual cooperation. That was helping one another out. And of course, our sisters, prominently our sisters, Usha and Lata, they recorded thousands of cassettes for us and made the material accessible in the form of audio cassettes. Earlier, there were audio cassettes. Today's children, I don't know, they may have heard about them, but it was analog recording. It was not digital recording. It was analog recording. And sometimes it happened the cassette broke down. The reel broke down even on the day of the examination. That happens. Those are all the dangers of such things. Everything is fraught with dangers for that matter. So in this way, we made the materials accessible, and then we kept going. And of course, writers, scribes, I have already told you about them. So in this way, gradually, inch by inch, my brothers and me, all three of us, rather all 8 of us, because education was the key. As I told you, we were refugees. Our parents were refugees. We did not have anything. So only way out, only way to progress was education. And this, nobody imprinted on our mind. We knew it. We knew the situation. We realized the situation, that education only can uplift us out of this dire poverty. And all of us, I mean, all 5, 6 of us have got government jobs today. This is not a mean achievement, because getting a government job in early 2000s or 2000 is very difficult. Now also it is very difficult.
Correct.
So all of us have got government jobs, good jobs, and perhaps, and nobody grilled this into our mind. It's not that parents scolded us and they were after us, you study and you did this and that. No. But they had that respect for study. As I have told you, our grandfather used to ask, did you attend all the 8 periods? So this one sentence of his made us, realize the importance of education. Today's parents, they are after their children with a cup of milk in hand, and you wake up at 6 o'clock. If you do not do this, do that. But I don't know whether children realize the importance of education by all these steps or not. But a simple approach of our parents, the simple humility of our parents, the simple encouragement, the supportive ambience which they created, and the kind of importance they gave to the education automatically made us realize that education only will take us forward in life, nothing else.
Sir, thank you. It is a very important point that you have stated, to, especially to the family's environment, or to parents rather. My another wonder is, you have cleared your state level eligibility test. We call it a set.
Even national level eligibility test also.
Yeah, and then, yes. Yeah, you have cleared 3 national net exams, national eligibility test, English, law, psychology.
Yes.
And in 2, you are JRF.
Yeah.
Right? You have cleared JRF. Okay, JRF is not a, it's been clearing the net and set is not a small deed. It's not an easy deed. And going through JRF and being a rank holder, it's indeed a commendable thing. Even in today's scenario, people really struggle a lot to achieve that. But you did it in 90s. And my wonder is two things. One, why you are not supported by the universities or recruitment? And two, why you didn't proceed with the PhD, because you would have been given a stipend by the
Yeah,
government.
yeah. So, okay. So now you have touched raw nerve, as they call it, right?
Yeah.
So I will tell you why. First of all, the second question: why I did not proceed for my PhD, because I had got JRF, Junior Research Fellowship, in law as well as in psychology. I am interested in research. It's not that I am not interested. Even I am interested in interdisciplinary research also. Number one, in India, there is hardly scope for any interdisciplinary research. If I go with such an interdisciplinary topic to a university, no, they will not. They don't accept it. No, no, this belongs to law. This belongs to psychology. This belongs to literature. As I have told you earlier, I do not believe in compartmentalizing. There are no watertight compartments in the life, that this is law, this is literature, this is psychology. No, life is one. It's a one whole. So therefore, I take up such matters which are which are holistic in nature, which are interdisciplinary in nature. But in India, such a research culture is of course not there. But when I got JRF, I was already working in railways and then in Reserve Bank of India. So there was no use, because if you are full-time employed, JRF is money is not given to you. So I was in full-time employment till then. So there was no this scope as such. But then also I thought of pursuing research. But then it occurred to me that there is no point in just creating more and more research papers. You know what happens to research papers? They just lie in the storerooms of university, buried under the heap of dust. Nobody reads them twice. Only the valuer read them. Even I'm not sure the valuer reads them properly once. And the kind of research which is done in India is pathetic. If you write two lines out of your own mind, your guide says no, you can't write this. You have to support each and everything with the footnote, where you have stolen it from. You have to reveal the sources. Is this the kind of research we want? This is nothing. I mean, let me say it on record that 99% of research which is being in India today is a sham. It is just not research. It is just copy pasting and giving the footnotes. So I'm not at all interested in such type of research. Rather, I thought, why can't I work practically? If I'm to research in law, why can't I do something practically for the people to obtain their rights? And I did it. At least something I have done it. I have been supporting some people. I have been supporting some cases. I think that was much more valuable than just writing a dissertation in legal studies. So, what was your first question? Yeah, universities,
Yes.
teaching.
Yeah. Why
That
you
is
did?
also a different thing. That is also different. Of course, I am interested in teaching. Anybody clearing net in three subjects is bound to be interested in teaching. I want to teach. I want to be a lecturer. Even today, if somebody offers me the job, I'm happy to leave RBI job. But when I tried for it, the universities, the colleges outright rejected me. At least I appeared for dozens of interviews. And after joining RBI, they simply told me, you are working already in Reserve Bank of India. Why would you join us? I said, that's my prerogative. I can. But they were not ready to take me in. And to tell you frankly, teaching jobs are sold in the market even to this day. That's not a fair recruitment. They are sold. The price I think now is 40 lakh, 30 lakh. At my time, it was 10, 15 lakh. So now it has increased. Inflation is there, na? So
Mm.
now it has increased. So teaching jobs are sold. There is hardly any fair recruitment in teaching faculty. Number one. Number two, no reservation is followed for the persons with disabilities, even to this day. That is a burning question. Why shouldn't there not be reservation in the granted post in the teaching fraternity? We are fighting for this. We are taking up this the challenge. Hardly the reservation is followed. Thirdly, there are prejudices. How will you control the class? How will you do this? That, as if it's a primary and KG class. They don't think that children are mature enough to attend the classes and all. They
Mm,
think children are like sheep. They have to be simply herded together and put in the class. Unfortunately, that is the outlook of our educationists and administrators even today.
mm.
So all those things combined, they have put me out of teaching fraternity, which I deeply mourn, and given a chance in life, I would definitely like to teach someday.
Then how did you shape your? Nowadays we have career counseling programs,
Hmm.
career guidance programs.
Hmm.
Everyone is there to guide us
Yeah.
something or the other.
Yeah.
Right? So even in fact, it has become a Tom and Dicky
Ah.
activity.
Ah.
Right? So,
Ah.
but I don't think there were right people to guide you.
Hmm.
How did you take yourself to a job?
Well, career guidance and all, it's good. It's good. Finding out one's aptitude and all, it's good. And those are lucky people who are really, able to align their interests and their livelihood. That's a very rare achievement. But do you think even after career guidance and counseling, people are able to do it? I don't think, because many people are just, they take up whatever their families and their near and dear ones, or even the fashion tells them to do. It's fashionable to become a doctor. It's fashionable to become an engineer. If you can't become, then all this career guidance, much halla gulla is made about them. But I don't think that is very much important actually. Actually, you have to earn your livelihood by whatever you want to, by whatever you are forced to do in the job market. I never wanted to be a banker. When I joined RBI, everybody was asked, why have you joined RBI? Why have you joined? Some people said, I'm interested, I'm passionate about it, I want to contribute to Indian economy. I said, nothing doing. I'm not at all interested. I'm not at all passionate. I'm here to earn my two meals. I'm here to earn my livelihood. And I appeared for the exam. I was selected. Therefore, I have joined. It is nothing that something is very, benevolent or very, 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 very big about it that I have joined RBI. And I believe 99% of us are like that. The people who really say they have joined out of some passion and this and that, either they are lying or they don't know themselves. And I make an exception for 1%. I make exception for 1% who truly they have joined whatever they were career guidance they have received and whatever they have been able to achieve on their own. So, but I am not among those 1%. I am among the 99%.
But who told you, sir, to appear for RBI? How did you prepare yourself? Because
Nobody,
nowadays,
nobody told me to appear for RBI. I was working in Kanpur Railways. There was one girl whom I looked upon as sister. She one day told me, "Ki Bhaiya, have you not applied? The RBI advertisement was there, and the last date has gone, but I think it has been extended. So you send your application." So I sent the application because she assisted me. And had there been nobody to assist me, I would not have been able to apply for RBI. So that is simply a matter of chance. It is not something very forethought, and it doesn't have a grand story behind it. It's just random occurrence.
so getting a announcer job in a railway,
Yeah,
did you plan for that? Was there any exam to reach out?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Of course, there are exams. Without exam, you can't join anything.
okay,
So exam was there. I applied. I saw the advertisement in the news. I saw means somebody told me there were no accessible newspapers those days.
correct, correct.
So somebody told me I was in LLB doing the final year of LLB. So naturally, if you study for 17 years, why do you study for? You want a job,
Mm.
naturally. So somebody told me this is the job. I said, okay, let us send the application. And then I went there. And as I knew something better than the others, and I was selected there. I appeared for the exam. I appeared for the interview. So that's how it came about. But I was interested in that job at least. I mean, some interest was there.
Uh, what was your initial role, sir, in the RBI? What What are the tasks you have done, and how did you get this promotion to this level?
Well, RBI, as you know, is a central bank of the country. We regulate the banks,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I was posted in various departments like non-banking finance companies, then IT for some time, and then this Department of Supervision, what we call it today. So many tasks are there which a blind person can perform with appropriate assistance, appropriate cooperation of the people. So I have been doing off and on many tasks, like taking care of legal cases, taking care of the vanishing financial companies, then supervising the banks now, and in the between market intelligence, gathering the market intelligence. So like that, tasks keep on shifting. And promotion, I appeared for the interview. After 5 years, I was eligible to appear for promotion interview, and I got through it. And at present, I'm assistant general manager there, doing various tasks. And I hope that work culture should be more and more accessible. We should do more and more paperless works. Therefore, it becomes easy for us to do in soft copy rather than in the hard copy, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
And every bank has a different software,
yeah,
different local software, intra software.
yeah.
And were you working with the computers, or is it only oral communication your job involves? I mean, can you explain?
No, 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 no. Of course, we have to work with computers. More than the people, we'll have to listen to JAWS. I listen more to JAWS than to my wife, right? So it is a second nature to us for blind people, at least. Because without technology, you can't hope of
Mm,
achieving anything for that matter. Sighted person may do something without technology, but a blind person cannot do anything without technology.
mm, mm,
Because as I told you, the era has changed. Now
mm,
the human support is not forthcoming. People had, and after this COVID, I think the long lasting consequence will be another form of untouchability.
mm.
Corona will go away, but the untouchability will persist.
Correct.
Okay, so it's become very difficult for a blind person to seek any assistance. So technology is really a boon for us. So I work with the use of computers, with JAWS, with OCR software. But as I told you, the work culture is not conducive.
Mm,
Even today, the work culture is not very conducive to the this computer work. We work on papers, we want files, we want hard copies. So it becomes difficult at times. Many things are not accessible. Even though they are in soft copy, they are not properly accessible. So it is always challenging. It is always challenging. For that, we have constituted ourselves into visually impaired bank employees welfare association, VBWA,
mm,
of which I happen to be the founding founder president.
mm,
So we try to achieve optimum working conditions for the visually impaired bankers all over the country, and we have been doing many things in that direction, right from preparing a comprehensive report on the working conditions of VI and submitting it to the government of India,
mm.
and filing RTIs, performing this nationwide surveys, and many things we are involved in that field.
So we have rules, and even there's a law chapter in the RPDA Act says
Ah,
on accessibility.
ah,
So the banking sector has different intra software, as I
hmm,
told you. How
hmm.
why can't we bring in that change immediately? And being on a helm of affairs, you could also recommend easily and
Yeah.
bring it. I mean, can you throw light on that?
We have been recommending, actually. We have been in the report also, we have recommended it to the government.
Mm,
The problem is that with the will. Law is there.
mm,
Law mandates that everything should be accessible. At least whatever is the government bodies are there, right? Banks are
mm,
also public sector banks, many of them.
mm,
Okay.
mm,
So it should be accessible, whether it is their internal software, whether it is their external websites, whether it is their mobile products, whatever is there, it should be accessible. That is what the law says. The guidelines are there. WCAG 2 guidelines are there. Problem is that I tell you the real problem. Problem is that disabled are not on the agenda of the administrators or the politicians.
mm,
It does not cross their mind
mm,
that disabled are also the part of the society. Now it is a fact. Therefore, the other day I was participating in the webinar of Ministry of Social Justice and Environment. Okay, so the platform they used, it was called Video Connect. Till joining, it was fully accessible, but once I joined, I could do nothing. I could not switch on the microphone, switch off the microphone, video, whatever, who is on the call, nothing. My iPhone went totally blank.
oh,
If I am swiping, doing anything, nothing doing.
mm,
So this is the approach. Couldn't they have figured it out? that what platform are we using? It should be accessible. No, this applies to all the things. When a bank installs a software, it never. I will give you example of Reserve Bank of India, my bank. Okay, now there is HR software called Samadhan.
mm,
When it was being planned way back in 2014, we wrote to the top management that please make it accessible. Whenever you install it, whenever you initialize it, let it be perfectly accessible right from the beginning. You tell the developer that international guidelines provide for the accessibility. So we wrote every month. When it was finally deployed in 2015, it was totally inaccessible.
oh,
After that also we have been petitioning. To this day also, I cannot generate my salary slip in RBI because the software is not accessible. Now, if this is the mindset, if this is the apathy, if this much is the indifference, I really don't know how to make them realize in the democratic and non-violent way. Prevents a bank like Reserve Bank of India from making Samadhan accessible in 6 years?
correct.
Don't they have money? Don't they have resources?
Mm,
They have everything. They don't have the will. That's the problem. And it's not only the Reserve Bank of India, but every authority and every government is like
mm,
that. US example, Kindle, why it got accessibility?
mm,
Because universities there refused
mm.
that we will not buy the product unless it is accessible.
Oh,
And in US, the penalties for accessibility run into lakhs of dollars.
mm,
Unless we adopt that kind of approach in India, accessibility will not come by petitioning. Accessibility will not come by judicial cases. Accessibility will not come by anything else. Either we have to be proactive, like we will not buy a product when the authorities say, government says, university says, then it will come. Otherwise, it requires a revolution. Simply, suppose, I don't want to say it, but it will happen someday. Everything will be accessible the other
mm,
day, then from the next day. Right?
okay.
Okay.
Now, now, even with reference to the recruitment,
Hmm.
even in a bank like Repco,
Hmm.
recently, very latest one is on the
Yeah.
Repco from Tamil Nadu. There's one guy was denied or deprived of his opportunity, but
Yeah.
AICP had gone
Yeah.
into CPC, CPD and
Correct.
got the order. Now he is in place. He has
Yes.
got the promotion. I mean, got the rightful job role.
Hmm.
But could you please highlight on the reservation? I think you have also played a role
Hmm.
in terms of reservation in the university. You have
Yeah.
gone to Nagpur courts and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you explain on this?
As I told you, reservation is hardly followed in the educational sector. They don't follow it. Universities, colleges, they hardly follow it. So Nagpur University did the same thing. Then I filed a case. I argued it in person and got the seat reserved for the blind law faculty, and the person is working there. But it is just the beginning of the story. Again, in the Nagpur University, the same things have been taking place. Again, I don't have time every time to file a case and argue it in person. Okay. The thing should be that it should be made into a system. System is there. Law
Mm,
says the reservation should be there. DOPT circular says.
mm,
UGC says. But still it is not implemented. Therefore, I get frustrated. Now, what else is required? Each and every case should be agitated before High Court.
mm,
Each and every case should be sent to the commissioner. Of course, hardly anybody listens to the commissioners. Forget about them. High Court and Supreme Court is what remains then. Okay. So every case cannot be agitated before a court of law. So how to change the system is really the problem. Of course, we are again thinking of filing some PILs and filing some writ petitions for reservation in the teaching faculty. The other thing you said, Repco Bank case, right?
mm,
Well, I simply put it, I mean, Repco, I mean, it appears a rape bank to me, not the Repco Bank, because it has committed a rape on the blind person who was not given the job. Why should he be deprived the job once he is selected and the Repco Bank is coming and saying that we have not appointed a blind person in our history and he cannot do the job, so we will not appoint him? Is this the way that they can say in the democracy? Is this the rule of law? Of course, I mean, commissioner has said, no, I still don't know whether that person has been appointed or not. Commissioner said within 90 days that person should be appointed. Sometimes the bank may also go to the High Court, and when the High Court reprimands the bank, because it has happened with me. One girl was denied the job. Orthopedically disabled girl was denied the job because she was orthopedically disabled. Okay, way back in 2012 by State Bank of India. A bank says no, she is not medically fit because these deformities are there. Those deformities were orthopedic disability, and she was selected against the seat which was reserved for the orthopedic locomotor disability. Now this is absurd. The person is selected against the reserved post. You are making that person unfit because of the same disability. Then we went to the state commissioner, Maharashtra state commissioner. 2, 3, 5, 4 times we went from Nagpur to Pune, Nagpur to Pune, Pune to Nagpur, Nagpur to Pune. Then commissioner delivered the judgment. Okay, gave her the job. Okay. Then State Bank of India went to the High Court. We also went to the High Court. And fortunately, High Court ruled in our favor. Yes, this is absurd. She should be given the job, and now she is doing the job. All those complications are there. She was appointed retrospectively, but she was not given the pension because pension stopped in 2009-10. Her case was from 2009, it dragged on till 2012. So again, she was not given the pension. I don't know what happened, whether she has been given the pension or not. But I'm telling you the kind of approach which the authorities take. That is pathetic, apathetic approach. It is apathetic and pathetic approach. Law is there, but everything cannot go to the courts. And it is the high time that the authorities take a right approach towards the disabilities. Otherwise, if not in my lifetime, maybe 20, 30 years after, the revolution will be there. Or otherwise, disabled will join hands with the Naxals. I'm not saying that it should be done, mind you. I'm not saying, I'm not in favor of that. Otherwise, they will put me behind bars like Professor Sai Baba. They will say that Rajesh is also supporting Naxalism and all that. I'm not saying that it should be done. But if the situation remains the same, I'm afraid by 2050, Naxals will have to form a disabled wing also.
Oh. So that should not happen, hopefully. And I mean, you have already stated, sir, very clearly, but still, I mean, for the benefit of the listeners as well, there are plenty of managers in different banks still deny us an opportunity to open an account. So even if I have opened and I have a thumb impression, then again they say you cannot have a checkbook. Then I will show my Aadhaar card with the thumb impression. Then they will say yet another reason for issuing via internet banking facility. So on and so forth. Can you please help us out? In fact, it's a dire need. In recent times, even in Tamil Nadu, we have plenty of cases who are denied of this opportunity.
Yes. Really, it's shameful. It's shameful on the part of the banks. It is shameful on the part of Reserve Bank of India as the regulator of banks. Because Reserve Bank has issued the circular way back in 2008 that all the banking facilities should be provided to the persons with disabilities on equal basis with others. Actually, no circular was required because everything, every facility, every right which is available to the citizens of India is equally available to the persons with disabilities. But thanks to the ignorance, thanks to the apathy, thanks to the malevolent approach of the people, RBI had to issue the circular that you please give all the facilities on equal basis with others to the persons with disabilities, including the blind as well. Even after 12 years, I daily get the phone calls that ATM is not given to me, my account is not opened, my checkbook, they don't give the checkbook to me, internet banking are denying to me. Daily basis, I get at least many such phone calls, right?
Yes.
Now, as you rightly said, this is the ground reality. Now, what should be done about it? Two things can be done about it. Number one, anybody who is denied any facility, banking facility, should file a complaint. Should file a complaint in writing by email or by post. If it is not resolved within 30 days, you go to the banking ombudsman. RBI has appointed banking ombudsman all over the country in major cities. So simply you can find out the addresses. You can write to banking ombudsman with the supporting documents that my application was rejected or I applied but I received no response. Okay. This can also go through emails. So this everybody of us we have to do. We have to escalate the matter to the banking ombudsman. Always, whenever we are denied any banking facility, we can go to the banking ombudsman. Now, what RBI should do? Two things. First of all, when RBI inspects the banks, there is no para on this. That in the customer service, you should check how many disabled approached you, how many what any mention of disability is not there. When RBI issues a circular and there is no monitoring, what is the use of that circular? So you should make it, RBI should make it a part of the checklist when the banks are inspected, whether they have given customer service to the disabled, whether there are any complaints by the disabled pending against this bank with the banking ombudsman. This is not being done at present. And whenever something is not checked, something is not cross-checked, you can violate it with impunity. Whenever you don't, cross-verify something, you violate it with impunity. And when the banking ombudsman even comes out with their annual report, they don't mention number of complaints received from the persons with disabilities. That is not mentioned in the annual report of the ombudsman banking. So my point is that on the individual basis, we should escalate each and every case to the banking ombudsman. First, we should write to the bank in question. If they don't reply or no satisfactory replies received within a month, we can go to the ombudsman. We should go to the ombudsman. And on the part of the regulator, RBI should make it a checkpoint in the inspection as well as in the ombudsman reports whether persons with disabilities have been complaining, how many complaints were resolved, how many are pending. If all this is done, I think something can be done.
Okay. So, with reference to the exam pattern,
Yeah.
now everything is changed. And people feel for a clerk, even becoming a clerk, there are, I think, 3 levels to my knowledge:
Yeah.
preliminary, mains, and other interview as well.
Yeah. Now NRA is coming, National Recruitment Agency. That will
Yeah.
add one more level to it.
So, do you think all these don't you think it is complexing things, make it much more difficult?
Yeah, it is complex. It is making much more difficult because demand is much more than the supply. Government jobs are dwindling, and the aspirants are increasing day by day. According to one study, there is 1:200 ratio for each and every job.
Oh.
Even the competition in the disabled or the competition in the blind is more than the competition in the sighted. Because when I remember in my RBI way back 2-3 years back, for 90 vacancies of clerk assistant, we call it 90 vacancies of assistant for the sighted, for the non-disabled, they had called 500 people for interview, and for one vacancy of the blind, which was reserved for blind, they had called 9 people for the interview. So 1:5, 1:9. And even you observe the cutoffs in IBPS and other exams, cutoff for blind is much higher than the general. Of course, that is another legal point, which I will not go into that right now. But the competition is there. Process is complicated. And the kind of questions which are asked in the exams, it is very difficult for a totally blind person to really solve them. I also admit the kind of questions which are being asked today, those is a totally blind person really finds, it's not really possible for a person to solve those questions. So now after coming of NRA, I don't know what will happen. They say it's a common entrance test. Then you can apply for different exams. It's common for all. First, CETs will be common for all. Then either you will be given employment based on the score of CET by some institutions, or then IBPS, RRB, and SSC will conduct their own exams after the candidates have been screened by CET. So how that will work out for the blind, again, it's a problem because it's not on the agenda. CET should specify the writer guidelines. NRA should come out with the writer. They should follow the writer guidelines which are already there. What will happen in the first instance? I am pretty sure nothing will be said about the writers. Then we will agitate, and then the you require scribe. So some guidelines will be passed by NRA, which will not be in compliance with the existing guidelines. Again, that will be the problem. That is what we fear, because disability is not on the agenda of anything right from the conception. See, we were disabled right from our conception, but disability is not on the agenda right from the conception of any project. That is the problem.
That's the saddest thing. You have contributed a good, important point into the RPD Act. which
Hmm.
refers to hiking the age limit to
Yeah.
80.
Yeah.
And as well, you have also suggested a few more points, but they were
Hmm.
not accepted, I think.
Yeah.
Could you share your experience?
Yeah, my experience while drafting this, I was a part of many consultations, including the final consultation in the Vigyan Bhavan in April 2011. So I was the part of the consultations. Of course, the consultations, they hear all of them, and then government decides something, then they change it. Many things were there, like Section 3.3, which legitimizes the discrimination against the people with disabilities.
Mm,
We did not want it at all. We opposed it tooth and nail. Even in the parliament, it was opposed,
mm,
but somehow it got passed and all those things. Age, yes, 6 to 14, nahi, 6 to 18. I was, yes, I championed for it. Then some more things were there, which I really wanted there to be in the law, but could not find, their place. One of them was no negative presumption. You should explicitly mention that no authority shall draw, no person or no authority shall draw any negative presumption with respect to disability.
mm,
We like any facility, any right, anything, you cannot start that it's not available to the persons with disabilities. You
mm,
should start any negativity is there, it should be provided for in writing, that no, this XYZ cannot be given to this kind of disability. But
mm,
now what happens really, it is the other way around. Authorities start from the unwritten presumption of negativity, like from bank account. You say, if I
mm,
go to a bank, how will you get the bank account? You are blind. You cannot start from this presumption. Law should have clearly provided for that no negative presumption can be drawn.
mm,
You know, so that would have served us well. That would have come as a great relief. But now it is not the case. Then another thing, I really advocated that, and it is happening, but it is not happening in the same way which I wanted. Any disability certificate issued by any state should have a national validity.
mm,
It should be recognized throughout the India. It should receive the protection of the constitutional article. I think it is 263, if I'm not wrong. Maybe I may be wrong by one or two articles, but the article says the clause is public faith, public records. So that protection of public records, it's a public record. My
mm,
disability certificate is a public record, so
mm,
it should receive that protection and should be valid throughout the country. But now they are coming up with a different card, that unique disability ID card. I don't know what will
mm,
happen. My certificate, I will have that unique disability card, that the website itself is inaccessible. How can I
mm,
apply for it? And then whether that card will be just one more addition to my already existing bundle of certificates. I
mm,
don't know whether it will be unique and it will be recognized throughout the country. Full faith and credit clause. Sorry, yeah, I remember. The full faith and credit clause is there in the constitutional article, I think 263 or 262. I'm forgetting right now. You can search it on the Google.
mm,
And that full faith and credit is extended to the public records of various authorities. So
mm,
why that cannot be accorded to the disability certificates? If the
mm,
law provides for it, why not? We
mm,
can definitely do it.
mm,
So that was another point which did not find favor with the government, and it was left out. Another point which I agitated for
mm,
was the disability audit of all the schemes. Whatever the government scheme is there, disability audit should be compulsory. Whether it is right to education, whether it is, now people are agitating for food security.
mm,
People are going to the Supreme Court that without card you have said the ration will be distributed, but the disabled should also be covered. Why should not they be covered in the first instance? Who said
mm,
that the disabled are not covered by that?
mm,
No, this shows really, I told you, pathetic and
mm,
apathetic approach of government. It's
mm,
really pathetic and apathetic approach. So any government scheme
mm.
should have the disability audit component inbuilt into it.
Correct.
Nowadays, what happens? Even the circulars are issued by banks like Reserve Bank of India, and they are hardly cross-checked.
Mm,
They are hardly in the inspection of the banks or in the ombudsman reports. They are not mentioned. Why? So I say any scheme, not only the special circulars which are there for the disability, right now they are also not implemented because their implementation is not cross-checked by the relevant authorities. But what I am saying is paradigm shift. I am saying is that each and every scheme of the government should have the disability audit. into it. Of course, that also did not find favor in the corridors of the power. There may be some other things also which I'm forgetting now.
Right.
Yeah.
So, how about your thoughts on NEP's National Education Policy 2020? And there is a discussion on special education and going into inclusive education. The policy talks about the inclusive education. Your
Uh-huh.
thoughts on that?
I really don't know what that NEP says about this. I have not read it in that person. I have not read it so far. Okay, but as you say, it talks about inclusive education. Earlier policies also talked about inclusive education, but what I feel, special education as well as the inclusive education should be given the weightage. Inclusive education cannot replace special education. I think in the initial years, a disabled child requires special schools.
Mm,
You improve their standard. I know their standard is very low nowadays, the special
mm,
schools. But instead of substituting them by so-called inclusive education,
mm,
you improve the standard of special education, and then at a later stage, you go in for inclusive education.
mm,
Because right from the beginning, if a child is blind, totally blind child, as a hearing impaired child is put into the KG or nursery class with along with the sighted or able bodied children, I don't really think it is going to benefit either of them. Yeah,
mm,
at fifth standard, in seventh, eighth standard, that is perfectly understandable, but not at the nursery or level or the primary level, because the required maturity is not there, neither in the children nor in the teachers. The main problem with the inclusive education is the teachers are not competent to teach a disabled person.
mm,
And special educators, I mean, their condition is really, their plight. They are simply paid a meager amount and they are
mm,
expected to go from school to school all 7 days. Do you think they can do justice to the cause?
mm,
Not at all. Their appointments are ad hoc, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan,
mm,
and they are, I mean, hardly paid 10,000 rupees, 12,000 rupees, including everything. They are supposed to visit from school to school, and just what they do, I really don't know. So, uh, we have to train the teacher. Every teacher who does B.Ed, they should have a module on the, educating the disabled.
mm,
Then only this inclusive education can work, but that too from the middle level, not from the initial or nursery level. We are really playing, havoc with the lives of our young disabled children in the name of inclusive education. I get students. We run in Nagpur, we run computer classes and everything here. The kind of people who have come from inclusive education, they don't know the spelling of, if I ask them the spelling of, any word, they don't know the spelling of spelling even, because they have not been taught properly by the system. They have just been ignored, or they have just been taught like the able bodied children. That's the main problem of inclusive education. So, therefore, we should strike a balance between special education and inclusive education.
I think I heard or I seen reading that you have started an organization called DARE,
Yeah,
Disability Advocacy Research and
education.
Education.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you explain on that your activities there?
Yeah, we have started there in 2016. I am the founding president of it, and with me here is sitting the general secretary as well. And we basically try to concentrate on the disabilities as a whole. But right in the beginning, we have started computer classes for the blind children and competitive exams classes for the blind
Mm,
children. Because of the paucity of resources, we have not been able to expand ourselves much, but these computer and competitive exam classes have helped dozens of students secure a good job,
mm,
and we are continuing that in online fashion right now.
mm.
And when the situation is again back to normal, we are hopeful of starting our in fact, I'm sitting in my NGO right now while
No.
giving this interview to you.
Okay.
So this we have started like that.
Besides all your busy work as a
Mm.
banker and legal advocate and things like that, I think you also have written a ghazal, a compilation of ghazals,
Yeah,
like
three, not
Aduda
one, three.
Aswan.
I have
Yeah.
written. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's not one. Okay.
no, it's
Okay.
three.
Please explain on
Yeah,
your writing.
I'm interested. As I told you, I am interested in many things. I'm interested in life as a whole. Okay, so I'm interested in literature. So I have creatively also. I write some poems, some ghazals, some. So three collections I have published. One is in Hindi, that is Adhura Asman, and the other is in English, that is Virgin Verses.
Mm-hmm.
Virgin Verses is the translation of some poems by Mr. Hari Dilgir. He's a Sindhi poet,
Mm-hmm.
Sahitya Academy winning poet.
Mm-hmm.
He had some unpublished poems written between his engagement and marriage.
Oh.
So those unpublished works we took out and we translated it and we named it Virgin Verses. And then third, recently I have published a collection of my Sindhi poems, as Sindhi is my mother tongue. It is called Jekara. So that also I have published. So in all three books of poems so far I have published.
Okay. And what is your hobby, sir? Besides all these busy things, generally, what you do to relax your mind and heart?
Uh, I play with the children. I have two kids. One daughter is Akalpita. She's in 10th, and my son Sajak is in 4th standard. So I play with them. I talk to my friends like that. And in fact, I mean, there is nothing. I mean, as a whole, I feel quite okay, quite relaxed. I don't have to pursue a separate hobby, except my vocation, which is banking. I don't regard anything else as stressful in my life.
Okay. Okay. But do you really find time to spend yourself with the family on even on
Yeah,
specific?
yeah,
As a,
yeah. Because I am a very 9 to 5 person. I go to office at 9:45. I never do overtime. Even if my boss asks, I never do. I come back at 5:45, 6 o'clock. I am back to my home. So that is like that
mm,
only. Because I don't believe in being super busy. I don't have that attitude in life. Generally, if you, even if you ask my near and dear ones, they will say that I may be somewhat irritated officially. That is another matter. But otherwise, I'm not busy or some person like who will say I don't have time and all those things. Never. I believe in celebrating. Life is a celebration. Life is not a battle. I
fabulous,
disagree with this metaphor. People say
fabulous.
life is a battle, life is a struggle. Life can be a struggle till you have found something to earn, right?
Mm,
Earning is a struggle nowadays. Yeah.
mm,
But otherwise, life should not be a struggle. Life should not be a game of chess. We don't plan moves and counter moves against each everybody. No. I
mm,
disagree with all these metaphors. Life for me is a celebration. Life for me is a mahfil. We call mahfil. Mahfil is a Urdu word. Mahfil is just being together with your near and dear ones and saying poems and music and all those, including wine, everything.
mm,
So life is a celebration. Life is not something struggle, or life is not a battlefield. No.
excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. And last but not the least,
Yeah.
could you tell something on your future plans? Like you're now an assistant to GM, and
Hmm.
soon you should become the GM. And any plans like that?
No, I shouldn't. I mean, sorry to say, I shouldn't become, general manager or deputy general manager. I don't have those plans in my future. So,
Oh.
for future, I fancy, as I told you, the kind of things I'm interested in is that
Mm,
poetry. I should write more poetry. I should promote a rational and humane way of life, which is lacking in the world today. Neither people are rational nor they are humane. The world, by and large, is cold and unresponsive.
mhm,
That is the problem. So I want to engender, I want to propagate a rational and humane way of living, not the religious and mystical and cold and unresponsive way of living, which is at present the norm. So somehow or the other, I should do, and I should do more for disability advocacy, as we have discussed. So these things I fancy for my future, and
mhm,
not the promotions in job and all those things. I don't fancy those.
mhm, mhm,
And yes, I mean, you have asked everything except my
mhm.
family life. My wife would be very unhappy with the interview.
It's taken a long time, correct? I mean,
No, because yeah, that's a very for a blind person, all these things also matter. But I have been fortunate in all those respects. This is what, in short, I would say. Nanda is my wife, and she's MSW herself, and that way I have been fortunate enough to get good relations and good near and dear ones.
is it a love marriage, sir? If you don't mind.
It's not a love marriage. It should not. A marriage may or may not be love marriage, but it has to be a lovely marriage.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. When, so, in a single sentence, if you don't mind, for the
yeah,
benefit of everyone, last
yeah,
one single sentence is
yeah.
uh, you have clearly told that there are laws, rules, and everything in
Hmm.
place, but
Hmm.
there is an implementation gap is there.
Yeah.
And in a single sentence, what should be the action plan for an youngster who listens to this audio? Uh, can you tell me in one
Are you
sentence?
going? Are you going to send it to the minister?
No, never, sir.
And even if you do, will they listen?
No, I mean I don't think so.
So first action point should be to listen to this audio in its entirety
Right.
and take the things in the proper perspective. And another, in one line, if I am to summarize, whatever circulars are issued, law is not that way very bad at present. Okay. Whatever is being issued, the checklist should be there for follow up, like inspections, audit, whatever is conducted of government schemes or banks or whatever. The disability parameter should always, whatever are the circulars pertaining to disability, whether they are implemented or not, audit point should be there in all the audits. All the government, non government, every audit should have that disability para built into it. Then only the implementation can progress, otherwise, not.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Great, sir. Can you give us a ghazal poem, render a ghazal poem for us, and with that
Oh,
we will
ghazal.
end.
It's difficult. What should I have? I will just say a few lines and try to translate them into English because
Even you
I don't
can
know.
sing, sir.
Yeah.
You can sing. Hmm?
No, I don't
Any
sing.
song
I
that
recite.
you
I
have
recite.
written.
Yeah, I recite. I don't sing. Okay.
Right.
So one nazm I have written about, there is a famous nazm of Sahir होशियारपुरी आती, कौन कहता है मोहब्बत की जुबान होती है, ये
Okay.
हकीकत तो निगाहों से बयां होती है. तो इन रिस्पॉन्स टू दैट आई हैव रिटन अ नज्म कि हम ये कहते हैं मोहब्बत की जुबान होती है, हम ये कहते हैं मोहब्बत की जुबान होती है, ये हकीकत क्या निगाहों से बयां होती है. हम ये कहते हैं मोहब्बत की जुबान होती है, ये हकीकत क्या निगाहों से बयां होती है. और वो सदा इश्क की रंगीनियों में डूबी हुई, सदा मतलब आवाज, वो सदा इश्क की रंगीनियों में डूबी हुई, वो मोहब्बत भरा इजहार इसकी खूबी हुई, ऐसी तासीर निगाहों में कहाँ होती है. हम ये कहते हैं मोहब्बत की जुबान होती है. वो किन्हीं मरमरी हाथों का छू गुजर जाना, वो किसी जिस्म का थर्राना और सिहर जाना, वो किन्हीं मरमरी हाथों का छू गुजर जाना, वो किसी जिस्म का थर्राना और सिहर जाना, ऐसी तासीर निगाहों में कहाँ होती है. हम ये कहते हैं मोहब्बत की जुबान होती है ये लाजिम कि रहे राह मोहब्बत में नज़र, जो बयां कर दे जज्बात दिलो ज़हनो जिगर, पर सिवा इसके बहार ये न खिज़ां होती है. हम ये कहते हैं मोहब्बत की जुबान होती है. और गर यही सच है साहिर तो बता मैं हूँ रकीब. रकीब इज माई पेन नेम. गर यही सच है साहिर तो बता मैं हूँ रकीब, क्या मोहब्बत ही नहीं लिखी गई मेरे नसीब. क्या न नाबीनों के ब्लाइंड, क्या न नाबीनों के न दिल नहीं जान होती है. हम ये कहते हैं मोहब्बत की जुबान होती है. It has many more stanzas, but I have just said a few of them. It simply means that, love is not only expressed through eyes, it is also expressed through other senses. It has a tongue, it has a taste, it has a touch, it has a smell. Like that, in summary, it means like that.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Seriously, it's
Thank
very
you.
nice
Thank
of
you
you to
for,
have. You have
taking such
spent
a
a very
long,
valuable
very,
time of your Sunday, and
thank
that
you.
too a long time, and that excellent and really inspiring. Undoubtedly, a man of achievement, standing as a real role model. Without any sort of a support, you have come up to this level, and really,
No, I would not call without any sort of support. No. I have, as I told you repeatedly, I have received support from my family, from my friends, from my It's not
Uh,
without support, because see, we cannot defeat disability. They are mistaken who say that we have overcome the disability. We have not overcome the disability. We are living with the disability, right? So living with the disability, don't say that without support we have done. Nobody can do without support. Those
right.
who really don't receive support, they are lost in life. I tell you, they are lost in life. You can find many blind beggars wandering on the streets, isn't it?
True, true, true.
So no, I have got the support, and others should also get the support.
Great, sir. Thank
Yeah,
you. Really, I
yeah,
take the point. Thank you
yeah,
so much. We'll
yeah.
connect again.
Yes, sir. Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.